YouTube, Dawson Rider here, and welcome to my review for the series finale of Osama Sentai King Ohger. So, we pick up where we left off with all the Rangers and the Kingdoms facing down Doug's dead, and we start with a pretty epic roll call. King Ohger does roll calls kind of few and far between, which I really don't have a problem with, but when they do it, it's always pretty unique, which I really like. And in this case, it's kind of like a roll call for the entire kingdom, as you kind of have each character almost stating their mission statement and kind of their kingdom's philosophy in a way, and it feels like the entire kingdom is giving their roll call, which is honestly a lot of fun. And I mean, Kaguragi's looked like he was about to go full Hurricaneger Sanjo in his. Regardless, I think it was one of the most epic ones because, again, it felt like each kingdom was doing their roll call, and then you have this whole lineup of all 7 Rangers as well as all the kingdoms behind them. And it's not like it's just all faceless people, because we've gotten to know a lot of the retainers, certain other side characters from the kingdoms, even just certain reoccurring villagers we know, including our favorite one. And as always, I mention this in every review, and no exception for the finale. The choreography and cinematography of the fights is always epic. We have some final on-the-ground fights with the classic slow-mo, and I just really love the fights in King Ohger. It's some of the most epic Sentai fights I've ever felt, in my opinion. And then you have this nice moment of catharsis of Rackley's fighting Kame Jim, and Deathrock drags him off to basically hell, kind of where what's his face went, the Grim Reaper guy, I forget his name, the guy that did Fury of the Gods, I forget everyone's names, to be honest. But yeah, really great final epic on the ground fight stuff, and then they're getting ready for the final combo and trying to figure it out. I was a little bit confused because I think it's kind of implied that that one girl who, again, name escapes me. 90% of the cast name escapes me, but the girl from the Rackley special that helped him with King Ohger Zero and uncovering the secrets of his changer, and she was part Bugnarok, or she was Bugnarok, and because they have someone handing this guy a lollipop when he realizes what to do. I think that was implied that she came back from the dead to help with this, but they figure out how to make the big combo, and unless I'm missing something, the big combo is just a super giant version of the final combo. There doesn't seem to be any difference in the design unless I'm missing something. Kind of like going from way big to ultimate way big, which was slightly disappointing, although it makes sense budgetary-wise that they wouldn't want to create an entirely new design. But it would have been almost kind of neat to have a new post-series toy to buy and have a unique final formation. But it basically just leads to a larger-than-life mecha fight, which takes them to Doug Dead's little dimension. Honestly, pretty epic little mecha fight. I feel like the mecha fights have been few and far between in the last stretch, which, again, is something else I don't mind. It kind of makes them count more, and it keeps the variety up, and it keeps the mecha fights from becoming stale. But I found it to be pretty good and epic in scale, especially going to his dimension. And then you have it where effectively the Shoe Gods burn themselves out in order to destroy him. And it was another one of those epic moments with the great score. I mentioned the score in the last couple episodes, and apparently they composed new music for these last stretch of episodes, which is great. But there was 2 moments in particular in the episode where the score just really hit. It was this moment, and then when they all came back after they won. It just felt really epic and cinematic. And this moment was really well done in terms of the music and the cinematography and the effects of the Shoe Gods burning themselves out. They kind of are slowly burning off the power up until it's regular King Ohger. And the idea is they effectively just sacrifice their bodies and their souls do survive. As it was kind of a nice bit where Yamato says they're just machines, but he points out so long as we have their souls, we can just make them new bodies. So it's kind of a twist on the way he's always seen them as just machines, but now he's acknowledging that they're living and it's just the outer shell as machines. I feel like it would have been nice if maybe some of them remained dead just to make the sacrifice impactful, but it was still a nice scene nonetheless. And after they finish everything, it's kind of right at the midway point of the episode, or the rest is kind of happily ever after epilogue. You kind of get to see the peaceful times after the kingdoms have won, and they have this scene where they're okay, now that everything's set, we're going to unite all the kingdoms into one super kingdom and break down borders. And they try to come up with a hybrid name for it, but we're gonna call it Cheep Boop Beep Boop Boop Boop. It's no, I want it to be called Beep Boop Ba 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 Ba. And just kind of argue about what to call the kingdom and where to place their individual names. And the general idea is they want to unite everything and kind of have this shared culture and knowledge and break down borders between the kingdoms, but they're not going to force it. When they tried to force it, they wound up arguing over all these different things, which leads to a funny scene. But then they show afterwards that after that, basically what they wanted happens. They still are able to retain their separate cultures and their separate kingdoms, but the borders have been broken down where we see all the different kingdoms learning from each other, certain characters learning more about tech from Yanma's kingdom, learning more about food from Kaguragi's kingdom, more about medicine, all that stuff. I think that was well done. It was kind of nice because it was kind of we want to do this thing, but don't force it. Just let it happen naturally, which I thought was really well done. Random side note that I just forgot though, or just remembered rather, I forgot and now I remembered it, is when they defeat Kame Jim. not Kame Jim. Kame Jim's already dead. When they defeat Doug Dead, you know, after we do the whole sacrifice thing, though, we knock him into a civilian battle so we can have an on-the-ground fight, and they're all facing him down. And I honestly thought that they were going to spare him or something, pull a full-on Negan. It's like, okay, so he's going to go to jail, and then in 5 years, it's going to be King Oger Dead City, and he and Maggie are going to go to New York. But honestly, also because I've been catching up on the Dragon Ball manga, and I was just reading the Goro arc, and Goku stupidly let him live. They did that thing where he's like, oh, I'm going to let you live and give you Senzu Bean. Like, stop! Vegeta should have gotten that kill. That should have been the end of it. Anyway, this isn't a review of the Dragon Ball manga, the Super manga. Anyway, I thought they were going to spare him, especially with the Spirit of Sentai and all the other stuff I've seen over the years. But man, they just took him out. I thought that was badass. And also, when like basically it reminded me that his everything was kind of in this Shu God soul on his head, it kind of reminded me how much King Oger's powers are very Rider-esque. Because for the most part in the Rider series, the Rider's powers will somehow be tied to the villains, whether it comes from them or it's created by a similar person or kind of like a pure version of their tech. It's kind of interesting the way King Oger's powers are very Rider-like in that. But I wanted to mention that before I forgot it, even though I went out of order a little bit. So then at the end, they're all seemingly heading off to another adventure, which maybe I'm going to assume is for the team-up. I'm going to be honest, I found it a little bit confusing. And also, like, the villagers along with the peasant guy are headed somewhere. Did I miss something? There's a good chance I missed something. I'm the dumbest boy in school, but they're heading off to some sort of new adventure. And the idea also is just like, oh, the story's going to continue and all that stuff. And Jeremy narrated the end, which I thought was really nice because obviously he's the narrator. And there was a really nice kind of closing monologue about, you know, never give up on your happy ending. Ah, thank you. And just always, you know, letting the story continue. And I thought it was really well done and nice. And regardless of whether this is leading to anything I missed or the team-ups or whatever's happening, I like those kind of endings of, you know, you can imagine the Rangers continuing to have adventures in your head and stuff like that. It was a nice, satisfying ending. But I was a little bit confused about what were they implying because, again, they could be implying they're heading to fight with the Kyoryugers because we have that upcoming team-up. But they also have the Dawn Brothers one where it looks like the Dawn Brothers are going to be transported there. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what it was. Speaking of, though, I'm really glad the Kyoryugers didn't show up. Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised and disappointed they didn't show up at some point in the last, like, 7 or so episodes because I felt like that would have made his Prince's random appearance worth it, and that makes me more retroactively annoyed that he appeared again. I'm surprised, but I'm glad they didn't show up for the finale, even for in a teaser. I'm glad that this just was about the King Ogers period. I'm glad we're saving that for the movie. It makes it so that none of the last arc was soured, and it allows me to go into the movie with much more positive feelings. So overall, I found this to be a very satisfying finale. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very cinematic and epic. I didn't think this episode in and of itself was like mind-blowing or anything. There wasn't any huge twists or surprises or anything, which there didn't necessarily need to be, but it definitely felt very, you know, tied neatly in a bow, happily ever after, which kind of works, I guess, for a night-based series. Not that I'm disappointed, but definitely felt a little bit anticlimactic. Not in a sense that it was overly disappointing. I still really enjoyed the series. I'm glad that it got an overall satisfying and happy ending that kind of felt like a satisfying conclusion to all the themes and stories, but definitely wasn't one of those ones where I'm like, man, that really blew me away or anything like that. Definitely, though, as I've said, I think these 3 episodes were great and felt like a 3-parter, and people have said that I guess there's people campaigning that want to like put them together as a director's cut. I would love that. I would dream of a Shout Factory Blu-ray release of King Oger where they put the 3 episodes in like a director's cut finale. I would almost even buy like if they did the Blu-rays with that without the subs because technically I already know what's going on. So I don't know. But overall, I still really did enjoy it. Did enjoy the series. The series finale review is on the way. I have put up a community post asking for your thoughts on the finale. I will be reading some of the, or not the finale, the series. I will be reading some comments on your thoughts on the series in my series reviews, as I have been, so check out the community posts and leave your thoughts on the series or your favorite moments or whatever, and I might read some of those. But until next time, let me know what you guys thought of the finale, and don't forget to climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Rider, signing out.